AIM-listed Premier African Minerals is developing a number of projects, including tungsten, lithium and tantalum, in locations in Zimbabwe, as well as owning interests as well. The company's got other interests in mineral businesses around Africa. George Roach is Chief Executive. He joins us now with some more analysis of where the company's going. George, welcome.
Yes, good morning and thank you very much indeed.
Let's talk first of all about the assets that you've got in Zimbabwe, because you've got a number of projects going on here, some closer than others to production. Outline what's going on.
Absolutely. The closest to production in Zimbabwe is the RHA tungsten project. It's interesting and is very well supported at the moment by substantial rises in the tungsten price. I think we've all seen this, that prices climbed. European prices are now $310 to $335 a metric ton unit, which changes the dynamics of the RHA tungsten project and a lot of other people's tungsten projects quite dramatically. So exciting and very close to back into production and profitable production we anticipate from the end of Q4 this year. At the same time, we're exploring for lithium and tantalum at a project that we call our Zulu project. This has been regarded for many years as the largest unexplored lithium pegmatite complex in Zimbabwe, and our exploration work that we've done is tending to confirm this. We published a maiden resource of just over 20 million tonnes a couple of months ago. Subsequent to the data that went into that resource, we've doubled the amount of drilling that was done that supported that. Our geological model that we've developed is supporting the exploration targets that we set on our main zone and on extension zones off it. And we're waiting for assay results and a whole lot of other data to come in to populate that, and looking forward to being able to hopefully confirm our exploration targets and tonnages in the near future.
Of course, lithium is a hot topic at the moment.
Indeed it is. It's good news, I think, for us. The other good thing about the hard rock lithium exploration play that we have is that there are other uses as well. So whilst lithium is being driven by the battery industry effectively at the moment, one shouldn't lose sight that spodumene and petalite that we have has significant other industrial uses as well. So we're not entirely dependent on the battery market, although it's a great driver to have around at the moment.
Yeah. Let's talk about the production then in Q4 for tungsten. Sounds exciting. It's been a fair while in coming, but patient investors are going to be rewarded, I believe, by the end of the year. So it's profitable in fourth quarter?
We expect it to be profitable from late in Q4. It's been tough over a period of time. We've tried to bring this into proper production on a couple of occasions. I don't think we're the only emerging or new tungsten producer who's had some difficulties. I think that's fairly well documented. But I think
with the price trajectory, I mean, that changes the dynamic economically.
Completely, it changes it. But the good thing behind it is that the last 2 years have taught us a huge amount about how to mine wolframite successfully. It's seen fine-tuning in our plant. It's seen a huge amount of work go into understanding the resource and how the resource occurs, understanding recoveries and so on. So that all of that work, coupled to the price increases at the moment, I think is very exciting for RHA. And with this anticipated profitable turnaround from late in Q4, I think it's very good news.
It's no secret that small companies like yourselves, even in the mineral space, and when you're looking at lithium, which is a relatively fairly profitable business looking out, it's no secret that it's difficult to come by funds. Clearly, getting money onto the balance sheet from a profitable tungsten mine at the back end of this year is going to help things. What are you going to do with that money?
I have many suggestions, I must tell you, from our shareholders, which include suggestions such as buyback and various other things. But we've also been investing recently in acquiring some Circum Minerals interests, and Circum Minerals has a tier one potash project in Ethiopia that we strongly believe is one of the best development projects around. And subject to RHA being back in production, making some money and so on, I think that if we're able to increase our stake in Circum, I think it's going to be a huge return to our shareholders going forward.
And when's that going to start producing a profitable return?
That's several years away. Right. That's a development project that is to be built, but the fundamentals of it, the size of the deposit, the value of it, the location of it, all indicate that this must be brought to production fairly soon.
Your interest in that, does that commit you to spending on their progress towards production?
No, not at all. No, not at all.
So you're a sleeping partner in that regard?
Yes, I suppose you could put it that way.
Yeah. Okay. So
yes,
profits
it's a
come.
Nice hibernation for a period. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Look, we've got to talk about Zimbabwe. Sure. And what it's like to work there. You've been there a long while. You know what Sure. it's like, and you know the way the politics have moved. First of all, what's it like there at the moment?
Well, the great parts of Zimbabwe that I particularly like are that the standards of education of the Zimbabwean population are probably, in my view, amongst the best in Africa. There is a consciousness about education amongst people. There's literacy rates and so on that are much better than I see in many other locations. So from a people perspective, there are good people, there is a good work ethic. It's generally a pretty safe country as well. I have experienced no issues personally at all, and I travel regularly in and out. The infrastructure works. The road structures, particularly in the area where we are good. The airports are good. You can fly and get out very easily. So those are all the good things.
I was going to say, so what is it then that people shy away from? I mean, you mentioned Zimbabwe and they say, no thanks. But the rewards are there. I know because I've spoken to other companies that yes. make profits there in the gold business, for example. So you're obviously there to make a profit. Indigenization, you've got to, I think, hand over a large part of your business to black empowerment groups, haven't you?
Sure, you do, but that's the nature of Africa and the developing world today. You must share, and you must find a way of sharing equitably. I think that 4951 is punitive in some ways, but in the case of RHA, we agreed that it was reasonable on the basis of the financial deal that was structured. So our investment is largely on loan account, which we will get back. There was an existing historic mine, so there was a lot more knowledge than one would normally have. And in any event, the population of a country are entitled to share in whatever you're doing. It really is a case of trying to structure a financial and management package that can work. So, you know, we do not have, I do not have any particular issues in terms of the operation at RHA.
Let's take a look at this in the context of share price. We can bring up the share price chart. This goes back to the beginning of 2016. We're currently at 0.4 pence. What's priced in at these levels? Clearly, there is a risk element priced in, as we've been discussing, because I know that there is this resistance for some investors to go into Zimbabwe, despite the positives, which clearly there are positives. But at 0.4 pence, what is in this price? Have you got production at tungsten, at the RHA tungsten mine in this price? Have you got your lithium assets in this price?
I think you've already touched on what's in the price, and risk, I think, is the only thing that's priced in at the moment. I don't think that the potential profitability coming out of RHA is priced in. I don't think the value of Circum Minerals is priced in. And I definitely don't think that the potential value of Zulu Lithium is there at all. I think that in my own view, I think that it represents an opportunity at the moment, and a significant one. But I think that history at RHA is a risk factor that is being given too much credence. And I think that is overriding the potential underlying value coming out of the lithium exploration and out of Circum. So yeah, as you identified yourself, I think this is more of a risk pricing exercise than an underlying value pricing exercise.
So what are you doing at the moment? I mean, you're a deal maker. You do these deals. You look for investment opportunities. I know, and that's been proven. And you did a deal, I think, just yesterday, didn't you? Selling off part of some part of the business.
Yeah.
What's in the pipe at the moment?
Well, let me deal with what we announced yesterday. Yeah. We acquired a limestone exploration project in Mozambique late last year. In fact, that deal had been agreed in the earlier part of 2016, but only closed late last year. We'd anticipated that the forest operations of the company would support and underwrite the exploration expenditure that was going to be incurred. But in the latter part of last year and the earlier part of this year, the Mozambican authorities quite rightly stopped timber exports. There'd been tremendous abuse of the Mozambican forests. It was quite catastrophic what was being taken and effectively stolen. So they stopped exports, they stopped cutting licenses. That, of course, took away the underpinning of the reason for acquiring that limestone deposit. So what we've done is we've moved it on. I think it was the right thing to do, but what we have retained is a 50% interest in the limestone, and we have an initial free carry for the first $200,000 of expenditure. The beauty of that deposit is it's located on the Tet-Beira railway line, which literally runs across the project. It has a railway station or siding that exists at the moment. And at the moment, two cement factories in Beira, for example, are largely involved in importing limestone. All agri-lime is being imported into Mozambique. There's a shortage of aggregate in the region. There are new ports to be built, etc., etc. So I think that deposit has a very good opportunity still to come into production. So I think that the Prem's come out of it well. And has good potential coming out of that deposit. So it really underlies how we got into it and why we've got out of it. And we're not averse to looking at and talking to any other potential opportunity. Zimbabwe, going forward, I think has got some great opportunities still to come. I think it's substantively underexplored. Mines that have been developed often are not developed in the traditional sense that people don't necessarily want to go out on risk with huge amount of investment going through a traditional process. So you'll find that mines develop along an identified gold mineralized quartz vein, and suddenly you've got a mine without proper exploration. And there are a lot of opportunities that lie in that direction.
Yeah. Okay, look, we look forward to hearing more, but thanks indeed for dropping by.
It's only a pleasure.
George, it's a pleasure indeed for us too. George Roach is Chief Executive of Premier African Minerals, a company which has tungsten reaching production at the back end of Q4 this year.